Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how the heck are you?
Good man. It's New Year, first wrestle of the year, and yeah, we skipped a Monday, and we got tons and tons to talk about.
Yes, we do. Just in case you're wondering, we will be doing our year-end awards next week. We have some stuff we have to get together before we can do that. I have people I need to yell at before we can get that to go. Because we're going to be voting in house. I think we did it last year as well. It's just easier.
Yeah,
There's not as much need to
yeah,
make polls. It's a lot to make the individual polls.
yeah,
We got like a few hundred people each year to vote. It's a lot.
yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah.
work to do, and I don't have the time at the moment to do all the extraness.
I think you forgot to post a link with the tweet.
Yes, I'm about to actually go and I was reorganize the tabs, but
Gotcha.
the link is coming up next, sir. Gonna quote retweet. So apparently, Ja Morant is out for the year with a shoulder surgery.
Yeah, your boy Jameis Winston in New Orleans acting the ass, huh?
It's a while, and the Michigan Cheaters, sorry, Wolverines, won the NCAA men's football. Not like there's a women's football, the NCAA championship for football. It's a wild sports day. I cover the Utah Jazz and the Houston Texans for work. The Jazz have pulled themselves to within. Oh, they're playing right now. Oh, let me see if they're. Oh, they beat the Bucks. Ah.
Yo, man, I was like, yo, man, Jazz covering the Texans, they killing it. Shout out to C.J. Stroud.
Right.
And
Oh,
the Browns,
he
is
deserves
this
the
the
rest of the
closest
year.
they've been to potentially getting to a bowl in however many years?
Uh, Close-ish. They did win in 2020. They won their first playoff game since like '93 against the Steelers. So this is one of the better teams they've had, and Joe Flacco's just
Us having an Alex Smith year, huh?
yes, he is. Marcus, the Utah Jazz started the season with like 7-16. They are now 18-20. They are 11-4 in their last 15, and they've beat the Bucks, the Sixers, the Heat, and the Mavericks in 4 of their last 5 games.
Hustle back, man.
Right? They are crawling their asses back, and I love to see it. Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, 2 of my favorite Cavaliers, Jordan Clarkson, one of my least favorite Cavaliers. They're all on the team. They're all on the team. That being said, the Texans are the story of the day in my world, because watching them play and then covering them, what a time to be a Texans fan. They've been remarkable, and if you're a long-term Texans fan, how can you not enjoy what you're seeing? I've always been a low-key Texans fan. I like watching what they've been doing because I got into football around the time the Texans got put back and got a team.
Yeah.
So I remember watching all the stuff about, the expansion draft, how they got Tony Pacelli and Jamie Sharper and Michael Lewis, I think his name was. Like, they pillaged the Ravens.
Shout out to Andre Johnson.
Yep. He may be a Hall of Famer this year. We're going to find out, I think, it's Super Bowl Sunday or shortly thereafter. Deserves it. Hell of a player. Speaking of a hell of a time, we're talking Hard to Kill. Oh, the lolly. So, I've kind of given up when it comes to TNA about expecting perfection, right? Like, that's always been my downfall. This card is not great on paper, but there's some really good things about it. Firstly, Trinity's apparently on the way out the door. I was looking for a Deanna Parazzo image, but we'll just lump them into the general hard to kill conversation of it all. When it comes to Trinity leaving, and we'll get to Deanna Parazzo next. We'll get to Deanna Parazzo next. This is exactly why I didn't want Trinity in TNA. I didn't want her to be in the company for 9 months, be given this long world title reign, and then just bail the first chance she gets. And like kudos to her, like there's no ill will towards her. She's probably signing a bigger contract. She's probably she probably wants to go back to WWE anyway. She probably wanted to be with her husband. There's a lot of reasons why she would want to go back to the WWE, and like I'm fine with that. But this is part of a bigger issue with TNA as a whole right now, and that's their need to put belts on people who aren't long-term options. And it's not a Trinity specific issue. She's just the next person in line. We've seen this with, Austin Aries, Johnny Mundo, Impact TV, whatever he's going by these days. You don't know because he's not actually doing anything. Who else was there? There was Christian Cage, Kenny Omega. There's been a whole slew of people who have been given titles either to come in or to try to draw focus and pop the ratings. And for Trinity, she didn't pop the ratings, but I'm telling you, she was a pretty big draw for the live audiences. Now, I don't think losing her is going to hurt the draw of the company. I don't think she's that big. But that doesn't mean that she hasn't been a worthy asset for the company. But seeing the rumors around her leaving while she's currently champion, it boggles my mind that we're in this place again with another wrestler with this company. Stop, everyone is now going, if they put the belts on Mustache Mountain, or not Mustache, Girls with Young Veteran, they're going to be pretty pissed because this is something they need to stop doing. And I don't think anyone's really going to be in opposition to that. So, kind of miffed about the Trinity situation. Less miffed about the Deanna Prazo situation, but here's the thing about that. She's going to be the flavor of the week, and then, by March, it's like, oh, she's on Ring of Honor now. Or even worse, Rampage. Is Rampage the Friday night show?
Yep.
It's so bad, I can't even remember the name of the show. What's the show on Saturday?
Collision.
Okay. So, I'm not of the mindset that, oh, well, she did everything she can in TNA, she should go. No. There's plenty of more for her to do. There's plenty of storylines to explore. There's plenty of opportunities and matches to have. That's bullshit. No one said that about Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Nobody said that about Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Nobody said that about Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. There are more matches to be had, especially with Jordynne Grace. Now, losing Trinity and Deanna Prazo, on one hand, not great. On the other hand, very good. Only because TNA is our hit makers. Now who's next? Because they got Zaya Brookside coming in, who's the daughter of a famous British wrestler, and I always want to say it's Dave Taylor. I know it's not Dave Taylor. It's Robbie Brookside. Duh. She's coming in. She's itty bitty. I think she's like 5'0", but she's young. She's 25. She's got mass appeal. They signed Danny Luna, who is got oodles of upside, and I don't think bringing in Zaya Brookside, signing Danny Luna, I don't think that's nothing. I do believe that there's probably a desire to keep going back to England every year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're making moves like with what's his name? Trent Seven. Bringing him in. I think bringing in Zach Gibson, who I think is also British, and I think James Drake is also British. They are. I don't think these moves are just because they're available. I think they want to grow their presence in England and in the greater Great Britain area, and I think these are good signings to do that. It's part of the reason why they have such a Canadian contingent with Josh Alexander, with Speedball, with Crazy Steve, Rosemary. I think there's a reason why a lot of these guys are being brought in is because they want to have that international flavor for when they travel. So I'm not unsurprised that this is happening. That they're sending a lot of international names. I'm more excited about what can be done, especially with the fact that like Jody Threat, who I'm super high on, is in this Ultimate X match. So like, yeah, we're losing Trinity, we've lost Deanna, but there's opportunity, and that excites me, especially with Jordan Grace leading the division, and she needs to lead this division. Whatever contract she has, TNA needs to go. I'm bumping it to 2 years if you want, and then an extra 2 years. I'm giving you all the money, and I'm gonna let you run for 5, 6, 700 days as champion. Because at this point, why wouldn't you? So, going forward, I'm interested to see what happens next, especially with the Knockouts division. Thoughts on losing Trinity and Perazzo?
Sucks. Those are two really talented women. But Perazzo has been the emblem on the car with Impact Now TNA for pretty much her whole tenure there. I think that's where she really found herself, honed this whole virtuoso thing, and really defined who she's always wanted to be in a way. Which, let's be honest, Impact has done for a lot of people over their tenure as a company. But yeah, she's killed it. I can understand if she wanted to explore some new horizons because she had done pretty much as you could do. Was she was 3-time Knockouts champion? Um, Also Knockouts tag champ. Feuds, moments galore. Probably been she's had many main events. This, that, and third. I was watching the interview. I think it was with Fightful, and she was like, they ended up rushing the whole thing between her and Tasha, but they wanted to get to that before she potentially either left or things were getting kind of thrown out of whack with the tapings because obviously they're ramping up their production going into the new year, so things would kind of come to a close. They wanted to get that out the way, so that could have been extended, but they did what they could with what they had. So I can understand, like I said, wanting to explore new horizons. But to your point, we see what happened with Taya when she left.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our ex-compatriots had to be reminded that she even worked at AEW. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen to her, but it seems likely. Getting to Trinity, love Trinity. I think coming to Impact was great for her. I think it was a good thing for both sides. She was probably really in a funk, in that space that she left WWE, and I think she picked up a lot of momentum in Impact. And to your point, we've talked about this extensively. The whole dating without a real commitment, long-term commitment. I think Trinity's done a great job as champion and representing the company and this, that, and the third. But it would be cool to see if she re-signed. And I think we talked about before exploring the potentiality of Monet coming in, but she might be well above asking price at this point for Impact. So yeah, love Trent's run, but if she want to leave, I understand. WWE is technically her home. It's where she's been honed from beginning to where she is now. So I get it.
And like that's something that I kind of want to emphasize. Like I've liked Trinity's run in TNA, and I would love to keep her. I think, especially as a tag team wrestler, I think she had so much because I don't think she's a great promo, and it's hard to promote somebody when they're not a great promo as a solo star. But we saw like the Road Warriors. Yeah, they screamed into the mic, but they weren't good promos. They weren't even good wrestlers, but they complimented each other well. And when you have someone you can compliment with, which I think there was plenty of people you could do that with Deanna, especially with someone like Alicia. I thought the sky was the limit. I thought you could have a headlining tag team act built around Trinity, and the fact that they never did that, it sucks. And the fact that she's leaving also sucks. But the issue that I have around Trinity and the title specifically falls on Scott D'Amore for putting the belt on him when he didn't have a long-term commitment from her. So hopefully that stops. Hard to Kill's lineup, though, is stacked. These are the three matches that are on the pre-show. Rich Swann versus Steve Maclin. Former world champions squaring off. Then you have Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian taking on Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. 3 really great wrestlers. Then Brian Myers. Then you have a no DQ match for the TNA Digital Media Championship pitting Tommy Dreamer versus Crazy Steve. More than likely, this will be Steve's crowning moment. Though the fact that it's on a pre-show makes me hope that they save it for another night because he deserves, if he does win this, deserves to have a bigger moment than that. Then, yeah.
Yeah, real quick, I'm just looking at. Please tell me we are the same mind that you switch 1 with 7.
Switch 1 with 7?
You on the wiki or you looking at it on a different thing?
I'm looking at on the wiki, yeah.
Yeah, the Rich Swann with number 7.
Oh yeah, and, honestly, I'd switch any of the pre-shows with number 7, any of them. Now I'll tell you here when we get to number 7. I'll tell you what I'd rather do. Actually, let's just talk. Number 7 is Dirty Dango versus PCO. I don't want to see that match. However, if you made it Oleg Prudius versus PCO, I'd main event that shit. I'm a bastard when it comes to chaotic wrestling. PCO and Prudius would have a terrible match. And I would love every second of it.
God damn it, why did you have to throw that in there? Now I'm intrigued. God damn it.
Right?
Now I'm wishing... I'm almost wishing some chicanery happens and like Oleg loses his top and then replaces that Dango like, oh, you want him? Take him. Like, I'd ask for this match.
You take the ugly one. No, you take the ugly one. Prudius steps in. I'm the ugly one. That's not the line, dude.
Speaking of, the babies are back.
What about Tokar and Razor?
They returned.
In what?
Rich Shredder. They're now a faction with
Oh yeah, okay. You're talking about Akam and Razor. And I'm like, wait. There's a new Turtles thing with Tokar and Razor and a Rip Shredder? How did I not hear about this?
Oh man.
You got me, brother. You got me.
As soon as I saw him, it was screaming in my head.
They're terrible at wrestling.
Oh my god.
We might touch on that a little bit. Not Akam and Razor, but The Rock.
Yeah.
If we have time, and you remind me, because I saw something I was going to send to you, but I was at work and I just didn't have time.
Gotcha.
So the first match, I guess, is for the TNA World Tag Team titles. It's going to be ABC, the current tag team champions, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, taking on the Rascals of Zachary Owens and Trey McCall, Speedball Mountain of Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, and Grizzled Young Veterans Zach Gibson and James Drake. While I do like that they're trying to highlight and push Trent Seven, who just debuted at the last TNA show, I think tagging with Bailey. I don't see John Gresham on this card unless he left the company, which I don't think he has. I'm a bit miffed. I think you could do a lot of things with him, and I'm at a point where I'm starting to wonder why aren't they? So, now, as long as Grizzled Young Veterans doesn't win this, not because I have anything wrong with or I'm against the Grizzled Young Veterans, but it's like, you know, the first night Subculture was in the company. They won the belts. Can we not? That's all I'm asking. I'd rather see Bailey and Seven win the belt if someone has to win it, because at least Bailey's been around for a while. And he hasn't won the tag titles yet, so like that would be nice. Do you have any thoughts, opinions, wants, or desires about the World Tag Team titles? We'll talk about the rebranded belts here in a different segment.
Full great teams. This is gonna steal the show early. It feels like, given the right amount of time. But we also rightfully complained in the past about how they kind of just like to constantly throw these multi-man tag team title matches out there, a multi-team tag team, and they really just would do themselves a better service by having it square 1-on-1, 2-on-2. Have Ace and Bay. Kind of, go on commentary as these other three teams go at it, for a number one contendership, but this is what they're doing. So Like I said, I think it's gonna steal the show early, and I'd go with anybody to win except young grizzle veterans, because like you said, we don't have time to keep extending titles as thanks for showing up situations. So I'd have ABC retain because they've been killing it, or having to go to the Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, because one, I think you we need to see gold or a title on Bailey in the new year, and I think him and Trent Seven had a hell of a showing at Final Resolution. So
Agreed.
yeah.
So let's talk about the Ultimate X match. It's going to be the Knockouts Ultimate X match with Giselle Shaw, Xia Brookside making her debut. Jody Threat, the return of Tasha Steelz, although I think she returned at Final Resolution or slightly beforehand. Alicia Edwards and Danny Luna. Stack card, love that. Again, anyone will be fine but Xia Brookside, because can we not? I'm hoping Jody Threat, not to beat Jordan Grace, but I would like to see what Threat could do against Jordan Grace in a match. Tasha would be very interesting. I think she needs a few wins, so like if she were to go in against Jordan Grace, it wouldn't hurt her, because again, the idea for us going forward should be to promote Jordan Grace as the Roman Reigns, Bruno Sammartino of the Knockouts division. So whoever wins this is just going to be fodder for the slaughter that is the Juggernaut. Or the Juggernauty.
Okay, that head just immediately went somewhere else.
Well, she does post some spicy, scandalous stuff, so, you know.
I know. It's the Juggernauty. Um, yeah, screw it, I want Lish to win. Because there's no point in any of that. By the way, that was probably my favorite feud Trent had during her run.
Yeah, I would agree.
Just from an entertainment perspective, that contract signing was great. But yeah, just because there's no point of any contention where she's going, like you talk about fodder, she is literally a gnat to Jordan. But the brilliant part about that, I guess that number one, she could, because they treat that like a Money in the Bank cash in, don't they?
I think so.
That'd honestly be perfect for somebody like Lish, particularly being backed by her husband like she was during the Trent feud. So yeah, it's not too many scenarios where I just want to root for Lish, because I just think she's been really digging in with this heel character. This will make Tasha, if she won, a 2-time winner for this match. I can't see them doing it for Giselle, so I think she's just there. Like, if this was a cheerleading competition, she'd definitely be the base. Like I said, I haven't really seen that much of Xia Brookside. I think that Luna, this is definitely a showcase match for these three. I think Brookside, Luna, and then Threat for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the eyeball and go Lish, because I just think that'll be hilarious.
I agree. Excuse me. So let's. We're gonna save number 5 for last, because that one has me excited. Number 8, 3-way match for the TNA X Division Championship. It's Sabin versus El Hijo del Vikingo and Kushida. Much like with the other ones that we've mentioned before, I do not want to see Vikingo or Kushida win the title. Not unless they're under a full-time contract. Kushida is going to be under an exclusive Western continent deal, but he's mentioned in an interview that there's not a lot of demand with New Japan for him to move up to heavyweight, but he wants to do that in the United States, so I don't see him winning the X Division title. And honestly, I would just keep the belt on Sabin until someone else is kind of ready to take the next step and move up the listing, so to speak. So I'd just keep the belt on Sabin. What's your thoughts on that?
Real quick, because if you wanted to go to heavyweight, winning that X title would be the shot to do that at Destination X.
Is that the next show?
I I don't think so, but I was thinking about option C long term. Um, Speaking of, did we ever get that match between him and yeah, he ended up, yeah, because Macklin beat him, right?
Saban
In the title, yeah,
or
Kushida.
Kushida? Yeah.
Oh, Kushida, yeah. So technically, he's had his shot. But I was talking to your point of Kushida wanted to do the heavyweight thing. The quickest shot in Impact would be to take the X Division title, hold it to Destination X, and then cash in. But he had his shot. I would like to keep it on Saban as well. And speaking of a name that you brought up earlier, that I'm also a little perplexed is not on this card, considering the level of talent that he is. Seeing as if for some reason they can't seem like they got something for the man to do. Would you throw Gresham in the mix with the X Division?
After this match, absolutely, because he's one of the guys that I would absolutely put over on Saban. Be it either with Saban cashing in option C on
Mm.
Shelley or Moose, depending on who has the belt, and then having Gresham win the belt then, or by being the one to beat Saban for the belt and maybe cashing in on Alex Shelley, because I think that's the goal. At least should be the goal, is to promote John Gresham more. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and while I don't want to sit here and because it's a little early to say it, but it really is one of the most talented wrestlers I've ever seen as a technical aspect, and he needs to be utilized better. It's kind of like watching Dean Malenko 1997 all over again. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, look, we need we both of us need far more of prominence given to Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham, but separate singles, not together, not you running 50 matches with them throughout the year. Um, like you need to bring them to prominence. Like it's been really cool. Uh, the Motor City Machine Guns Up situation, because I just think that's been one of the coolest things in the past year. But yeah, you got two of the best today, and you definitely need to keep them in title contention or just outright give them titles. So, but this is I think that this could be another show stealing outfit. I mean, that's kind of El Van Kingo's thing at this point. And yeah, but I'm looking for Saban to return.
And hopefully that's what ends up happening. But obviously we'll see with time. The Juggernaut Jordan Grace taking on Trinity. Obviously, I think we're both expecting Grace to win, and I think it may be fair to say that had Trinity stuck around, would you want to see Trinity win this, or do you think it's time to go back to Grace regardless?
Yeah, I think it's time to go back to Grace, mostly because you got to finish that story out. She had to work back um, to get that monkey off her back, proverbial monkey off her back of Deanna, and then win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet uh, to get back in contention, because she couldn't even go for the title as long as Deanna was champion. So Trinity solved that for her, and then now she can take her out here. So I definitely feel like she's definitely somebody that can and like will knock Trinity off. And this kind of feels like the kind of last shot, even though it's not. But Grace is, necessary pathway to her getting that next title. So looking for the win. And if this is Trent's last bout, like I said, she's had a great run. But Jordan is the one person that got locked down. She is the best looking. We sing her praises as rightfully deserved, and like you said, give her that Reigns push. So
I think it's time to do that, and I think it'll do very well for the company going forward. Shelley versus Moose for the TNA World Championship. I feel like Shelley's run is just starting to gain traction. He had some good matches with Gresham. That was a standout match. And I feel like having him drop the belt to Moose isn't going to help him long term or help the run long term. And I don't think it gives Moose really a lot of opportunities, because unless the goal is to eventually build a Moose versus Alexander or his opponent, which we'll talk about here next, come Slammiversary, I don't see the point putting the belt back on Moose. That doesn't mean that Moose shouldn't have a major arc for the next few months. I just don't think winning the world title is the arc that would make Moose worth seeing. I feel like he still needs to find that next gear, that next character, that can elevate him. He looks fantastic. Moose is not someone who sleeps on the performances that he puts in. I've been telling you that I've been very impressed with Moose for years as a worker, especially going back to working with like Alberto El Patron. What was it, 2017 or 18? They put on a lot of good matches that people weren't watching, and it showed just the depths of Moose's talents. And I think there's a lot there. I don't know if he's ready to take the belt off of Shelley and have a good character run. Because as a talent, he is. He's ready. Like, he had a great run as Impact Champion. He had a great run as TNA World Champion. Like, he is good. Not having the last television for 4 or 5 weeks has not helped him get ready. And I feel like if you want to put the belt on Moose, wait. You don't need to do it, this weekend. You can wait a month. You can wait 2 months. You can wait 3 months. Let him find that next character arc and how he's going to get there, and then go there. Because I think what people forget is when a character gets hot, you can do a lot of things with him. Like, think about like JBL. Dude was Bradshaw in April at WrestleMania 20. And by July, he's the world champion of SmackDown. All because he found a character that worked. Now, granted, he did a lot of outlandish things that were must-see TV. Like going down to the border and beating up quote-unquote illegal aliens. Or like giving Eddie's mother a heart attack. Like those... like he found a way to really make himself a bastard.
Yeah.
And I feel like Moose needs to find that next level if he's going to take the belt off of Shelley, because what's the point then to put the belt on Moose if Moose isn't going to be that next guy? I feel like he's more Naito than he is Tanahashi. Like, great character, great wrestler. You want him around. You want him in the top of the roster, but you don't always think about him as the top guy, so you don't really put him in the position to be the top guy. And I wonder if that's the kind of the issue that we're at right now.
Yeah, that's practically like almost a two-part discussion of the best guys to always be the guy that was supposed to be the guy. Because that Naito story is interesting too, particularly, looking at where things are now. But yeah, with Moose, and I was thinking about it, I wonder if they could do a thing, and this is just me shooting in the dark as you were talking, thinking about it, coming off and talking about Gresham, if they could do a thing where, Gresham eventually beats Sabin for the X Division. And obviously, we get down the road, he gets a nice run, and we get around to Destination X, and obviously that'll be the plan for him to close out the guns. Obviously, you take out Sabin, and then you go at Shelley, cash in for the option C, and then eventually win the title. But Moose, after losing this match, become wholly obsessed with getting the title, getting back to the title, and then he sees, Destination X around the corner. He sees going through somebody like Gresham as an easy mark, because essentially this would be Hopper versus the main protagonist in Bug's Life.
Damn, that's a deep cut.
And then you could, in a way, you could play up to that, not necessarily directly the character that you pitched months ago with Moose potentially starting the faction, but definitely playing into that bully role, because essentially it's like, as great as Gresham is, like, what can he do against this big hulking, guy? And then you just start a thing where he literally starts picking on Gresham, and then that could lead to some great matches. So that's just, like I said, that's just me long term shooting in the dark. But yeah, I don't think this is the time to drop it off Shelley. I think it's still some more momentum to be picked up with Shelley, and they can find something to do with Moose. But I do think it's going to be a hell of a showing, because to your point, we both been watching Moose grow gradually. I mean, coming all the way from Ring of Honor to when he debuted and obviously in Impact, and he had a thankless job being that grand champion. So,
I wouldn't mind seeing them bring that back, although different. I don't like the rounds, but I feel like if you did it kind of like their version of the Pure title, I think that'd be interesting. I really
Yeah.
do.
There'll be some progression to do immediately.
Now, let's get to the real main event. At least my main event. Josh Alexander, and he's been on the screen since we started the show, so it's like you should have seen it coming. Josh Alexander taking on Alexander Hammerstone, or Alex Hammerstone, I should say. This is Hammerstone's debut in TNA. It's not being speculated that he signed a full-time deal with the company, but I'm hoping he does. And this is one of those guys that I feel like needs a 3-year deal, needs a 4-year deal, needs all the money that he's asking for. But specifically, and this is something that I really want to say because like, it often kind of gets lost in the sauce, and it doesn't get heard correctly. So let me make sure that it's heard correctly. Alexander Hammerstone has every tool in the toolbox needed to be the next Hulk Hogan. I don't mean as a racist, but he can cut promos. He's charismatic. He's athletic. He can wrestle. He can tell stories. You can build a company around him. He's fantastic. And the poster, the photo for his Hard to Kill debut doesn't do it justice, but he has a great look. Like, he really does. He and his promos, man. He did some great work with Richard Holiday when they were in Puerto Rico and Mexico. And the running joke is, around this time period was that Hammerstone was on steroids, but he always claimed he wasn't, but alluded to him being on it. And it was very tongue-in-cheek. He's not. But, like, Holiday was like, all right, Hammer, we got to get back into the United States. You got to ditch your fanny pack. And he's like, why? And Holiday's like, come on, you know why. And he's like, oh, yeah. No, yeah, I got to leave this here, I guess. Now it was a more surmising the vignette, but that was basically the gist of it. And it was during their feud with Savio Vega, of all people. So there's a lot of real grand potential with Hammerstone, and I feel like the fact he's still free agent is wild. The fact that he's leaving MLW just gives TNA the perfect opportunity to build around someone, and I'm very curious to see how he's used going forward. I've been talking about Hammerstone for years. I know you haven't seen a lot of his content, but are you getting excited now for the possibility of what Hammerstone can do for TNA?
Absolutely. Who better to pair him with than TNA's Iron Man himself? For the past 2.5 years, you talk about must-see matches, classics, match of the year candidates, and talking TNA, you go either mention Mike Bailey or Josh Alexander specifically. So if he backs up everything that you say, and I'm sure he does, who better to run him into? Like you said, this is not slotted as the main event, but it might as well should be. He probably is going to be introduced to a lot of the TNA faithful for the first time. But yeah, man, he's a hulking guy, and this is going to be a hell of a showcase for him. So this is definitely looking forward to it.
I'm very excited about what this could be. So before we move on, though, there's of course a big signing supposed to happen and debut at the show. We haven't heard anything about it. There's a few names that we'll talk about later on in the night that have debuted and signed up for New Japan. But the two names that I think are very possible and maybe not ideal, but could be entertaining and could definitely be needle movers. And I mentioned one of them before. I think one is Goldberg. I think Goldberg debuting in TNA at this point would be huge, even if he is 57. I think that's all. Goldberg. He might be 58. He's 57. Even if he is 57, right? I still think there's a lot of value there, especially if you're only wrestling 3 or 4 times a year, which is all you'd have to do in TNA. Just have him show up to TV every now and then, and have him tackle people. I think that's really all you got to do. You don't need to go wild about it. The other name, which I think is even more likely, but maybe even less ideal, is going to be Jesus, Ronda Rousey.
God damn it. had my freaking fingers crossed for Dana Brooke. Jesus.
Yeah, I get it.
It ain't even been 10 days into the year yet. Jesus.
I know it's not the best, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah. She should absolutely be the thing, right? She should come in, be the thing of the moment, and take over the company, and yada, yada, yada. But I do believe, even though I can't stand the woman, that if she were to come into TNA, she would bring a lot of genuine value to the company, and especially in terms of the mainstream media of it all. So, like, while it may not be a great thing for us to deal with, I do believe that there is a little bit of value there. So, I don't think it's Mercedes Moné. There was a story that got leaked that she was asking for $2 million a year, and they were only offering her like 1.5 or something like that, and she refused to settle for less. So, like, who knows if that's true, and who knows if they could even afford her, right? So, we'll see.
Yeah, I'd appreciate her. That'll be a hell of a signing. And then again, X would flip Twitter or flip his wig. But you know, with everything that's going on, trying to up the production value, just expanding in general, you know that's a lot of money to burn on one person who may not gonna say she's injury prone or anything, but I'd rather see that amount of money spread out. The names that you can spread across the different divisions to build things up collectively than just blowing your wad, if you will. You know, just one big name that again might only be wanting to casually date you. So that whole deal.
Yeah, and like that's one of those situations where if you can't get her long term, right? Don't go. Like don't bring her in. There's no reason to do it. But if you can get her for 2 or 3 years, I don't think that's a bad idea. It may not be the most well received by a group of fans, but I think it's worth at least exploring because there's not a lot of big names. I think the hype around this has been a little overblown because what are you really going to do?
Yeah.
Name wise, like who's there? Like you could sign Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't think you're going to, but like yeah, that's a name that's out there. But he's 60. Mercedes Moné makes sense. Goldberg kind of makes sense, but he's almost 60. Like who really exists that's out on the market that you can go and snag?
Yeah, and it's not really because Ziggler's essentially going to be casually dating himself.
Right? So, like, even that one doesn't make a lot of sense because, like, what's the point of going with someone like Ziggler?
Yeah.
And God forbid you go with Matt Riddle. I'd rather have Rousey and Goldberg.
Yeah, and Chad's favorite charismatic wrestler going today, Mustafa Ali, is on the world tour. A world tour, I should say. So.
Now, I wouldn't mind Mustafa Ali coming into the company. He's a good hand.
Yeah, but he's not that signing.
No, he's not. Hell no. And he's not charismatic. He's as exciting as a deflated balloon. Every time he talks, I'm like, no, thank you. He's one of those guys that I would love to put under a mask, but like not just put under a mask. Like I think of guys like Blitzkrieg and Hayabusa. Just guys that had that mystique and aura, who never spoke and just had that presence about them. And I feel like that's what Mustafa Ali could be if he just got out of this headspace that he's The Rock or Stone Cold or whatever. And he can come out here and cut promos and generate an interest because he can't.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he can't be a star. It just means he can't be a star in the way that he's presenting himself. He needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
So...
somebody else that probably would have thrived in that Lucha Underground scenario.
Right. Then again, you look at Ricochet, and Ricochet's not a star. He's not a headliner. He's not a main eventer. He's not a needle mover. One of the greatest in-ring talents of all time. he's as intriguing as the inside of a Skittles bag, minus the Skittles. And not even the sour Skittles kind where you might find some sour residue to like inhale. I mean just a bland ass Skittles mini pack from Halloween. That's Ricochet. That's Mustafa Ali.
Going back to those early 2000s, we still continue to debate to this day in the new year about that damn mystery flavor Skittles. But them sour Skittles mixed with a Sprite remix, ooh.
Dude, that was my summers.
Summers, man.
Got to get a pack of sour Skittles and fucking 6-pack of the Sprite remix.
Man, the worst thing for you. But oh, it was so good.
My teeth never liked me. My stomach hated me. Man, those are some moments.
My soul gave me a thumbs up.
Right?
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, who's left? Benjamin, Brooke. Like you said, they're touting you so much. It got to be a name that's out there, somebody they bringing back, and somebody they bring back is not really, like, what, Mr. Anderson's, in his 50s now?
Close to. And even then, that's not someone that I would like. None of these guys are guys that I would be like, oh yeah, I would hate to see them. Like, bring in Dana Brooke, bring in Shelton, Ken Anderson's 47, bring in Ken Anderson. You can find things to do.
Yeah.
But don't bring them in as that guy, because like it's just going to be poorly received.
Yeah, it's this weird thing too, and you hate to see it, but like WWE pulled a pump fake. Triple H touted about the turn of a WWE champion, and they pump fake with Jinder Mahal, and then obviously The Rock came back. I feel like we might get the opposite with this, lining all these names up. They're touting The Rock, and then we're gonna get a Jinder Mahal.
That would be truly traumatic. So, like, off the top of my head, there's Monet, Rousey, Goldberg, and I would say Okada. Now, does Okada come in? Does he sign a deal kind of like Kushida? That could be very interesting. But, like, I'm going through, like, a bunch of lists of, like, the top free agents from pro wrestling, and we have, like, Rohit, Rory McAllister, Shaw Samuels, Sim Snuka. Like, we're not exactly dealing with the who's of free agents, mostly because AEW signed them all. Those cunts. So it's like, what do we do? They obviously have someone, and they made a pretty big incentive about, hyping them up to a point. Could it be someone like, I don't know, a bold observation here, but maybe Batista? I don't think we're going to get that, but like that would be huge. But again, he's probably 57. He is 54. So he's young-ish, at least compared to some of the names that we've discussed. It'd be fantastic if they brought in someone like John Laurinaitis, though.
Hilarious. It's Joseph Park? No. Yeah, man. It's just rattling down stuff. Nobody from any version of the Aces and Eights. I mean, we both pop across the world at the same time if it was Monty Brown, but that's still not that signing.
Right.
It's like you keep gassing it. But if you look at it, it's like, no, that's not something that you like. That's something that sets you on fire. So it's not backwards, sir. But
it's Sid Vicious. I figured it out.
It's hilarious. Yeah, you want to harken back to the days where like they had all the legendary names pass through there. But it's like there are no more angles, and if there are any angles, they've been signed. Everybody's pretty much locked up. I think Tom is going to be headed to the States, but that's, he still got some time on his New Japan stuff, so.
And, like, Tama would be a great get, but again, he's not that guy. The only guy out of New Japan.
Would be Okada.
Yeah. Exactly. So like.
Yeah, and Ibushi could take a year off at this point.
He could take a lot longer off. All right, let's get through the rest of the show. Top Dollar, definitely not that guy, will be showing up at Hard to Kill with DJ Woo Kid. Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts on that one. We already talked about the Knockouts Ultimate X. Let's talk about the titles. We've got 2 new title belts. The X Division and the Tag Team titles have been updated. I really like the X Division one, though I wouldn't say it was perfect. There's a portion of the top that clusters the X that I think you could have knocked back a little bit so it wasn't so all encompassing on the X. But I do like the X Division belts. As long as it doesn't have Velcro. I don't know why so many promotions are going the Velcro route. That pisses me off. Don't do that. Marcus, thoughts on the Ultimate, not the Ultimate, the X Division title belt that just recently debuted?
Love it, dig it. You know, I think our boys over at Jutsu kind of called it out. Or made the point that it feels like a mix of all the versions of the past belts.
Mm-hmm.
Tribute, if you will. And it's a really good X. Like I said, I like that. I like the X Division belt, like 2 designs back, but like I had called out on here before, it was the Vin Diesel X movie X. I'm like, that wasn't good. But this is a good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good X. I like the pop of color with the red, black, and the gold, if you will. And it looks heavier. It looks like a heavyweight version of an X Division championship. So I dig it. Colors popping, all that. And they did the great thing, which is these last batch of belts had to emphasize. They put the owl. They de-emphasized the owl.
Mm-hmm.
Which I appreciate, and put them on the side plate, so it's still there. It's just not as pronounced. So yeah.
I think it looks fantastic. The Vin Diesel X Triple X belt, the one that Kenny King held, probably my favorite version of the belt, truthfully.
Yeah.
Though I did like the more recent one that we've had, even though the owl was front and center, I did like the more recent version. I think those 2 in order are my favorites.
Yeah, same.
Now, the tag title belts, though, I'm a little less over the moon about. Firstly, I don't like the red. I'm not a fan of the red titles. I don't know why we do that. It irks me. It irks me in ways I can't really begin to describe. It feels like a toy. It looks like a secondary title. It's the kind of belt that the NWA would give to Joe Schmo and Bobby Capati. It's like, we're just trying to get these guys on the card because they have Billy Corgan's secrets that Billy Corgan can't afford to get out, right? And that's kind of what these belts remind me of. Like, here's Mid-South Wrestling's bullshit nonsense United States Tag Team title light heavyweight TV belts. Holy shit, Ace Austin has some thick ass thighs. Fuck.
Yeah, you saying that about him? I'm saying that about his girl. I'd say that about his girl when I seen a photo on Twitter.
Who's Ace Austin's girl?
The backstage announcer lady.
Gia Miller?
Yeah. Yeah, go to her account and scroll down. You'd be like, hey.
AAO. So I'm less optimistic about the tag titles. But then again, and this is something I do want to kind of point out. The TNA tag team titles have always been pretty ugly.
Did you like the ones that primarily were held by Beer Money compared to this recent dog tag design?
So, let me see. I think there's photos of them down below. I guess not. Let's see. So we had the OGs were kind of like the dual pointed ones. I
Mhm.
liked those enough. I didn't love those, but I liked them enough. And then we had the stretched nickel. Like, you know how you would go to like one of those mine tours, and you could like put a quarter in, and like you twist it, and then like, it reshapes the quarter or the penny into a different shape or something like that. That's kind of how those ones looked. Trying to think. So I wasn't really a big fan of those. Was there another design?
You talking about the last ones?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the oval shape with the yeah.
Because they had those belts for a while. The classic ones.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the more recent ones. I thought there was more than just two variations, though.
Do you think they went with the red thing because if they went black, they think it'd be too close to the X Division belt?
It's possible. I don't think it would have been. I think the red definitely of like the red strap definitely makes it more look more like the X Division title than not. And if they had just gone with the black, I think it would have been fine. My only concern is that they're going to do the WWE bullshit where it's like where the Knockouts tag team titles have the same design but it's white.
Man, great minds. I was thinking the same thing.
I would hate that. I would hate that so much. Don't do that to me. Don't
Because
be those guys.
didn't they give a red strap to the first Knockouts tag team title? One
Yes.
red, yeah.
And the Knockouts title belt used to be white. So, not they're not terrible. I just don't like the red strap. Otherwise, I think they're fine. Not great, but fine. So, let's get to some wrestling news from out of the land of the rising sun. Clark Connors is working on a per date basis right now with New Japan, and apparently Alex Coughlin might be wrapping up with New Japan as well. Those were probably the two biggest gets out of that Young Lion show that they did a few years back when they reopened the Los Angeles dojo. Losing either of them would be huge. More specifically, TNA signing either of them would be great. Again, not that signing, but to bring them on would be fantastic. They are great young talents who have great upside. Maybe not great with regards to characters yet, but in time you could absolutely build them into something worth having. Thoughts on Connors and Coughlin possibly popping over to the States?
I think it'd be cool, man. I think they, two guys that are not too dissimilar from the Grizzled Young Veterans in terms of that aggressiveness and whatnot. Got some good size on. They can come in and make some noise. Uh, I think because again, we heads still rolling. I mean, we're not gonna find out about this big signing until this weekend. But I think the strength of Impact's roster in terms of expanding it might be, getting those good solid role players like Trent, lining up some Trent Sevens across the board instead of just that one big kahuna that you think is going to do something. So, like you said, because everybody's just tied up right now. There's a lot of great things. People are spread out, going from here to there and everywhere, but, it's not a lot of, quote unquote, that guy for, to be spread out like that. So I think that'll be cool. And it's weird because it feels like we're seeing more and more of this thing. We've seen it with Kevin Kelly, other guys that have done it, and then also lately with Tama Tonga. People kind of, as great as New Japan is, if your life is not really set up like a previously Kenny Omega, where you can move over there and really enshrine yourself in the culture because you don't have that many responsibilities of other individuals, and you kind of want to stay stateside. You know?
I think what would be interesting is if we're seeing all these possibilities, and maybe it's none of them. Maybe it's someone like who is it, Jake Paul. You know, Logan's over in WWE. What if TNA landed someone like Jake Paul? Now, I don't think a lot of people would be very excited about that as a wrestling fan, but as a brand that's looking to expand what it is and how it can operate and the clientele that it brings in, I think someone like that could be huge for them. Maybe it's someone like an Anthony Joshua or an Anthony Ruiz. Maybe it's someone like that. Maybe it's not a pro wrestler because we haven't gotten any indication that it is. That being said, what I will say is, whoever it is, wrestler, non-wrestler, somewhere in between, if they're not a needle mover, I don't know why we're bringing them in. I don't care if it's Dolph Ziggler. I don't care if it's Shelton Benjamin or Mercedes Moné. If they can't pop a number and bring people into the show, fuck are we doing?
And it better not be Patron.
No, oh God, I don't even think that's a possibility at this point. Speaking of wrestlers who aren't a possibility, Kota Ibushi's out after suffering an injury at Pro Wrestling Noah's January 2nd event, the New Year 2024. I don't trust anything Ibushi ever says because Ibushi to me is someone you can't trust. He suffered an ankle injury and he blamed some clinic for it, which didn't make any sense in the world because if your ankle is messed up, why would you even, why would you try? There's a lot not being said about this story, which I'm sure you guys will cover more on the True Penny Show when you guys record that this week. So, I'm not... it's not a great thing that Ibushi got hurt, but I'm also not like flabbergasted that Ibushi got hurt because he does dumb shit all the time. He's a mercurial human being.
Yeah, and he came back off of that whole debacle that kind of fell with New Japan. It looked like he had some reinvigorated the spirit and gumption about himself. Came to Elite, showed out there, and then. Obviously, has been doing this thing, but he's always been very devil-may-care when it's come to his body for whatever final reason. Almost, that type of, throwing his body to the wind to almost match his talent level, which is insane. But yeah, that's I think that plays into why you can't trust him because it's like if he got the chance to put himself in harm's way, to showcase something he's doing, he's gonna do it. To a fault, specifically if it's detrimental to himself. So, I just want him to, like you said, he can take whatever time he needs to heal and then some, because a lot of times, the body will heal, but the mind will still be far afield. So I think, he need to get that lined up on a more consistent basis and, kind of get out of that, that Darby Allin of the like mindset, because, we want guys like that around longer, not shorter.
He's 41. It's time to stop being douche. That's all I'm going to say about that. Godspeed, Ibushi. Godspeed. So, speaking of douches, Matt Striker, who I generally am a fan of, pissed off the wrestling community when covering the debut match, or return match, I should say, of Matt Riddle to MLW. He was wrestling Jacob Fatu. Both men, by the way, are going to New Japan as well. They'll be wrestling in the Brawl in the Valley or Battle in the Valley show. Striker, though, during the MLW broadcast, said, "How do you let this guy go?" Referring to Matt Striker, referring to Matt Riddle. "This guy's a star, mega $1 million star. I don't care what he does. How do you let him go? This is our coup de grace right here." He goes on to say, "Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The court of public opinion would love to see Jacob Fatu slap the taste out of Matt Riddle's mouth. But the court of public opinion does not convict. I'm sorry, I know it's the world in which we live in, but it's not the case. He can do whatever he wants. He can kick your ass. Anyone out there has got a problem with him, Step out to him on the street. Watch what happens. End of conversation. So didn't go over well. A lot of people, lot of people like that. Stryker kind of danced around it on social media before eventually saying, let's see. First, he says playing a character isn't always. Is that right? Yeah. Playing a character isn't always easy, but getting the desired and necessary reaction is. Sorry. He goes on to say again, I play a heel, bad guy, character in wrestling. It's my job to raise the fans' ire, and their job is to have their ire raised. Tonight we all did our job. It's a symbolic relationship. With all that being said, please remember that it's my character. My job is to get you to react. Before finally saying, and I think a now deleted tweet. Is it deleted? Yep, and a now deleted tweet. I've given this a lot of thought, could not sleep. My critics are right. I was tone deaf. I was wrong. Trying to use the guise of art or character portrayal as self-preservation. Thank you to those that shone light on this. It is now on me to stand in that light. I will be better. I don't like Matt Riddle. I think I've said that once or twice.
No.
Right? Like, I haven't been very vocal about it. And obviously I do like Stryker. But that being said, I really don't feel like this is a big to-do. You know, you bring Riddle into your company, which is stupid. But you bring Riddle into your company, people are going to have a problem with it. You then hype up that he's in your company. You have to have someone to talk about him on commentary. I feel like Stryker is getting a lot of negative comments thrown his way because he's doing his job. I think what would have been better for all involved is if Court Bauer said, I'm not bringing in Matt Riddle. I'm not going to even put my company in the situation. And had he, been smarter about that, none of this would have happened. I don't feel like anything Stryker said is really that bad, let alone cancel worthy. But some people are truly going to be, they're going to look for reasons to be upset about anything, and for any reason. And I feel like someone like Stryker, who apparently rubs people the wrong way, and I don't know why. I feel like people are going to hyperfixate on things like this, even though they're too on the seismic scale of controversies. Excalibur called a black man a racial slur as part of a storyline. Like, I feel like the bar is a bit higher than saying Matt Riddle hasn't been found guilty in a court of law, which is true, as much as I hate that. So, I feel like this is an overblown story, but that's just me. Marcus, do you think this is overblown, or do you think there's merit there? I think I lost Marcus for a moment.
All right, and we're back.
Marcus, what is your thought on the Matt Stryker controversy?
Yeah, it just came off real, to his I guess his tweet that I guess he is no longer up there. It came off tone deaf. I didn't even register to me that he might have been working here. I felt like he was very much blurring that line, if you will, because I feel like if he was really working, then he could have got that sentiment over with just what he was doing in the ring and not juxtaposing it to what really actually happened in real life, where real individuals were hurt and are still hurting from said situation. Yeah, this it was always gonna be just like you said, just bringing him in will rub fans the wrong way, and then adding that on top of it, and that would be exasperated on a space where we still got people trying to champion Benoit. It's just a lot of ingredients for bad soup, So and bringing that guy in particular, talented or otherwise, that guy bringing him in to beat your very credible champion is a choice, So when you want the buzz, you do just about anything to get it. So that's the direction they went, and yeah, like I said, it didn't even register to me that he was working here. Now, hearing you talk about it, because I didn't go through the Twitter thing because I just didn't feel like going down that rabbit hole. But I could understand if that was the goal. I don't know if the juice was worth the squeeze because he is somebody that carries a lot of credibility in terms of his job in that booth. So, it'd just suck if he lose a lot of that with these wrestling fans for somebody that ultimately was not worth it.
And it's hard to say Matt Riddle's worth anything. So
Yeah.
seems like a lot to do about nothing. But Mustafa Ali is being hyped up and hyping himself up. I know you're a Mustafa Ali fan. Can you tell me what the appeal is about this guy and why people are acting like this is a big thing? I think people really do believe that they were going to put the world title on him, which they weren't. Ever. Like, everyone's like, well, Kofi took his spot. No. Kofi took his chamber spot. They audibled it to Kofi after he was put into the situation. Not because Mustafa was going to win the world title. What do you Santino Marella at the peak of his comedy would have been a better option than Ali as world champion. What are we doing, people?
They had to be dog walked into two narratives that they should have always been cooking for in terms of the yes movement with Brian and the outright blatant story that's always been there with Kofi. It's amazing to me how some of the best stuff that's happened to people in that company came off of people being injured. Other individuals being injured or outright fired. But yeah, I like Mustafa. I think he's a great in-ring talent. To your point, I don't think there's a lot of there character-wise. If there is, he's gonna. Yeah, I guess he's gonna get the space to show it now. But yeah, he's one of those guys that and I also think it's always the hype to these guys getting released. And, they put, look at the horrible gimmick that he got put in. And he's had some great matches and stuff, but I don't think he's that guy. I think it's cool that he's made a lot of momentum for himself in this independent circuit and doing a world tour and then really putting the pack, the battery in his own back. But, we talk about a lot too, that there's those guys that'll give you a good match. And then there's guys that'll be, a great lead for your company. And I think he's one of those guys that not necessarily the emblem in that way. And that's cool. It's a lot of guys that don't necessarily fit that mold. But again, wrestling fans tend to have a lot of participation trophy mentality when it comes to a lot of guys that they just, your classic term, the want to like your itis type of deal. They want to put them on the moon if they like them. So I get it, but I just, he's not that guy. Gonna give you a hell of a match, but I'm not tuning in to see a whole segment featuring Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, like give me Mustafa in the X division.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid me with Mustafa doing promos and headlining shows. Kind of just where I am on that.
Yeah, he's never gonna give you that belt made you, I made this belt type of deal.
God, speaking of just guys that are just being wasted. So we were going to talk about TNA Wrestling's YouTube channel and where they're at. We'll just cover that later. I do want to mention real fast, the fucking Rock returned, and they're building up to the idea of The Rock versus Roman Reigns, and some people are like, they should do it at Elimination Chamber. They're not. It'll happen at WrestleMania. Cody's getting fucked. CM Punk's getting fucked. This is what this company does. But what was funny was I saw a video on Twitter and I was going to send it to you, but I was at work. And it was like a bunch of like WWE 2K modeled figures, like the character models. And it was Cody walking up to Triple H in like a library, and Cody's like, "I'd like to finish my story." And like it was all AI voice, so like the voices sounded enough like them. And Triple H's like, "Oh, pal, someone already checked out your story." And Cody's like, "Who?" And The Rock was there. And Cody started crying and screaming. And then CM Punk, by the by, there was a giant Pepsi logo in the back. behind Cody, and then CM Punk rolled up. So like there's two CM Punks, and CM Punk gave him a microphone, and then it cuts to Cody sitting on the ground on a Monday Night Raw with CM Punk's pipe bomb promo being played over while Cody mouths to it, and I'm just like, yeah.
That's becoming, that being an ongoing joke on Twitter is becoming more entertaining than the potential of him actually finishing the story, and that's sad. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I wonder if it's like did I ever seen you those things on Twitter where they had the cartoon versions of the WWE superstars going to school and whatnot in high school?
I think that's what this was because it looked like a library high school. I think it was maybe Jason Solomon who I saw it on.
Yeah, I said because I think I wanted to say I sent you the one where there's like LA Knight in high school and then Roman Reigns in high school.
Yeah, I'm gonna retweet it and quote you in it. It's coming your way now. Well, as soon as I figure out how to throw that there. Nope. There we go. I think this is the same series that you're talking about. So, hopefully it slaps like it should. But yeah, that's all I got. Marcus, any final thoughts on this week's show before we head off and prepare for our year-end event, our 2023 year-end event next week?
No, that's pretty much it for me. Hell of all this is hilarious.
It's going to be good. I think you're going to like it. All right, so let's do the rundown. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCrp.com. If you want to check out all our past shows, links to our shows are on that website right there. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCRP. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParaDoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChedNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at ChedSPHRTOHUT. I haven't used it in like a year, maybe even longer. So I gotta update that eventually. After my phone got stolen, I lost all the photos I wanted to upload anyway. So with all that being said, thanks again for another year of shows. We're back hard for 2024. We'll see how this year shakes out for us. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.